Welcome back. It is our November episode because now we're so infrequent, it's become a monthly thing.
I'm so
with
sorry.
Sari. How are you doing today, Anna?
I am doing
Yeah, well, you're under the weather.
Yeah, it's the time of the year that everybody gets sick, and I am proud of saying that I barely get sick, and you know that that's true.
Oh, you've got that third world immune system.
I do, but I've been here for 4 years now, and
You're becoming American.
I hate it. I don't like it. I want it to go away.
You know, I was just thinking the other day, I was thinking, why is it that people get so sick in the wintertime? And I think it's three things. Number one, I think it gets so cold that people's bodies are just spending so much energy keeping them warm that it's energy diverted away from their immune system. And then two, and I think this is a really big one, they're indoors more and there's less light.
Yes.
So they're not getting as much vitamin D from the sun, which is so important to our immune system. And that's more of a recent thing that people are talking about. Like vitamin D is really important. Right. I heard it the most during COVID, you know, because everyone's inside. Yeah. You know, and then number three, I think people are less active because of how dark it gets. You know, normally it gets dark at like 9 p.m., 8 p.m.
Worst.
Now it's getting dark at 5 or 4:45.
It's 4:40. I think that's
unbelievable.
when the sun sets.
Our bodies are telling us like, oh, it's time to go to bed now. Yeah. You know, and I start like winding down at 5. You know, so I'm becoming less active. Yeah. So you're less active. You're getting not as much vitamin D. Your body's just trying to keep you warm. Yeah. And you just get sick.
Yeah. So, you know, I've been taking care of 2 kids that have been sick for a week. And then finally, it's catching up to me. I was like, you know, at the end of last week, I got this. I did not get sick. I feel great. And then I got there Monday and there's still coughing on my face. I was like, oh, no.
You know.
So today's Wednesday. I was like, yeah, I don't feel so well.
I got you.
Yeah.
You got to pay the price eventually. But hey, you know, at least that updates your immune system. And you get more resilient, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, unless you know that, like, unless it hit me like a train track, I keep doing everything that I have to do.
Yeah,
I keep
that's true.
And,
that's true. You normally just keep going. Yeah. You know.
All right. What is happening?
Well, I'm not sick, and that might be because I've been taking all of these ice bath cold plunges.
Yes.
Thanks, Wim Hof. I'm obsessed with that guy. He's so funny and he's so charismatic and he's so foreign, and I just want to believe everything he says.
He is very impressive. Like, whatever, if it's true or not, the things that he does to keep him healthy, he's a very impressive person. Yeah,
well, he has a really interesting story, and he's so into what he does. This guy, Wim Hof, and he takes these incredible feats of I don't know what you even call them. He's broken several world records for the most time submerged in ice and, you know, doing all of these crazy stunts like going up Mount Everest without a shirt on and things like that. Like, he just does these insane things. And he talks about the benefits of cold exposure, not like prolonged cold exposure, but basically the whole idea is if you're able to create a safe voluntary stressor for your body in the form of temperature, like jumping into an ice bath for a couple minutes, right? You know, and then getting off and everything's fine, and then warming up again. Right. That causes your immune system to have to act almost the way that when you pick up a weight off of the floor, you know, your muscles are now stressed, and then they build stronger. Right. You know, and the whole idea is that's activating your vascular system. Your blood vessels have to start pumping to keep yourself warm, and it's almost like a hard reset on your body. Yeah,
and it does feel like it. Like, I started doing it with you, and I don't do every day like you do. Like, I take pauses. But when I do it, I did not know all the things that you know about it, because you saw all the people that actually do research on this stuff. You watched all of them. You read everything that it's out there about cold therapy. I didn't. I just hear it from you, and I started doing it. And the thing that I noticed about myself is every time that I get out, I feel a lot better in like my body and my mood, and I feel like I can do a lot more than I could before. So I get out of the ice bath. I go like, do I go to the gym? Let's go to the gym. And then I go to the gym and I work out with more weights, and I can do more. I can run for longer. It takes me a long time to feel tired. I feel like I can conquer a lot more that day.
That's a really big deal, and that's something most people who do it talk about. And even if there are zero, and I mean zero health benefits, like it just doesn't do a single thing, just the fact that it's a difficult thing to do that isn't harming you, it's something that creates this mental fortitude that allows me to do more difficult things throughout the day easier.
And it's voluntary.
It's voluntary.
That is the biggest thing, that you are putting yourself in that situation. Because if you go through something difficult and you survive, but it's something difficult that if you would have a choice, it's like, oh no, like no, that just traumatizes you. You hope that never happens again. But if you put yourself in a position like, I'm gonna do this difficult thing because I want to prove that I can do something difficult, then after that you believe that you can do other difficult things.
It's one of those things where the hardest thing you do in a day is the hardest thing you do in a day.
Right.
And most people, myself included, I go throughout my little white collar life and I'm like, okay, I woke up, I took a shower, I log onto my laptop at home, and I just I'm drinking water and I'm just going throughout the day and I'm like, okay, I'm not doing anything very difficult the entire day. The most difficult thing for me is like asking you, hey, do you want to go to the gym?
Yeah.
And then going to the gym.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's pretty much the most, or if there's like a house project and just getting it started might be difficult. Or saying, hey, do you want to film a podcast like we're doing now? Those little things, which are like not difficult at all. Let's be honest. That's not a big deal, in the scope of life.
Yeah.
Those are the most difficult things for me. So it becomes something that I procrastinate on. It becomes something that I avoid because that slightly difficult task is the most difficult thing that I do.
Yeah, it builds a barrier in your brain.
Barriers. Yeah. So we avoid the most difficult thing. And then if something actually difficult happens, it's devastating, you know? And so if you're able to do something consciously like this, like taking an ice bath, which sucks, let's be honest. I hate it. Every
Mostly
time.
now.
Oh, yeah, because it's getting cold.
Yeah.
So I'm already cold.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's the worst.
It's horrible. Let's be honest. It sucks.
But then you go in. Well, before we would go in, and the hardest thing is to go in.
Yeah. It's the first 10 seconds.
Yeah.
But once you're past that 10 seconds, it's significantly easier.
Yeah.
After a minute, you're like, I could be in here for 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, lately I haven't been feeling like that because it's so cold that I shiver.
That's the difference.
Which just started happening. It didn't happen before, but now I shiver inside and it sucks.
If you're already cold, it's almost, I would say it's almost not advisable to even do that. You should warm up first, have an internal warmth. But anyway, I digress. I've been happy with it. I've actually been able to stick with it for several weeks now, and I want to keep going, and I want to make it to 100 days.
I know.
So anyway, that's the ice baths, and I'm convinced that's why I'm not sick. But we'll see. Who knows? I might get sick today.
I am very impressed. I am very impressed because usually when I start getting sick, you immediately get sick.
It's not long before I'm sick. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we're trying to do a lot of things that are healthier. You know, like we're trying to eat less carbs in general.
Yeah.
Cut back on refined sugar.
Yeah.
Despite what the sugar industry wants us to think
Yeah.
about it. We're trying to cut back on seed oils.
Yes.
Which is a brand new thing to me. I think it's been something that people that have been in like the health world and who are health nuts have known for a while.
Yeah.
But I view myself as a mainstream hoe. Like I figure things out later and I'm like, oh yeah, let's do this, guys. But like people have known about this for a while. The first time I heard about seed oils was from my dad. He's really into health stuff. He reads all the books and all the blogs. And he has been talking about seed oils for years now, a couple years at least, saying that these seed oils are highly processed and they heat them up so they're shelf stable and they're highly inflammatory. And then inflammation leads to dozens of other illnesses that we get, and like coronary heart disease, these eye issues and everything. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, that sounds bad. And then it was just in the back of my mind. Right. And the more I look into it, the more I'm like, it's everywhere.
It's in
literally everything.
You can't I go to the grocery store now and I am aware of it because you brought this into my life and I was like, oh, this is actually very bad. So I started actively looking for things that had no seed oils. It's almost impossible.
Almost impossible. Like, I'm serious. Like, Jamie, look this up real quick. Seed oils list. Check this out. So you got canola oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, grapeseed oil, even rapeseed oil, which I didn't know was a thing, and it sounds weird, but we're going to continue.
It sounds really weird.
Soybean oil, cottonseed oil, corn oil, basically all the oils, except for olive oil. That's a really good one, and you should try to find a good one and eat at least 2 to 3 tablespoons a day. But seed oils are really bad.
Yeah.
And more people are coming out saying that. And it's unbelievably difficult to find something without seed oils in it.
Well, they just started doing avocado oil as well.
True.
Because
Yeah.
avocado oil is neutral, so you can use it for baking. Because most baking that takes oil, it's going to be soybean or canola oil or any vegetable oil. So and olive oil, you can't really use it for baking because it has a taste. So if I bake a muffin with olive oil, I'm going to taste the olive oil and it's going to be disgusting.
Wow.
So people are using avocado oil, but this is so new that they just did, I don't know who did this, like some company did, you know, when they test the products out to see if they actually what they are.
Yeah.
Most of the avocado oils out there are already rancid when they're selling it.
Wow.
So it's so new that people are trying to be healthy, but the product that they're selling is not really what they say
That's the problem,
Yeah.
is that when you get something that's more natural in its natural state, it doesn't last as long.
Yeah.
And that's why it's not like you have these evil companies that are like,
Yeah.
how can I make Americans suffer?
Yeah.
You know, it's not about that. It's like, it's these engineers, food scientists. Like, I met a food scientist that works for Hershey.
Mm-hmm.
And one of these food scientists is basically like, all they study are these ingredients they put into it, and they're given criteria from the consumer, from the customers that are talking to the salespeople or talking to marketing, talking to engineers, and they basically say, we need a product that lasts 3 months minimum, because by the time it gets through the supply chains, it's in the shelves, it's sitting there an average of 45 to 80 days, and it has to last that long.
Yeah.
And then it also is going to sit in the customer's refrigerator for X amount of days.
Right.
And if it spoils before the person eats it, that's a bad experience. They won't buy it again.
Yes.
And so they're thinking, how in the world do I keep this product shelf stable for that long?
Right.
And you have to heat things up so much that you kill all the bacteria.
Yeah.
And to do that, you're killing all the good bacteria too.
Yeah.
So we're eating all these things that are cleansed of bacteria. And what we're finding now is the microbiome in our gut, basically the human bacteria that we are composed of, we're half bacteria, which is weird to think about. We are half human cells, like just normal eye cells, ear cells, skin cells. And then we're half bacteria. It's wild.
Yeah.
Like, so you're talking to me, but I'm also half bacteria, Josh. So if you don't treat your bacteria well and you give yourself a lot of bad bacteria, everything suffers. Your immune system suffers. Your vascular system suffers. Your eyesight, everything suffers. Your brain health.
Right.
And then when you give yourself good bacteria like probiotics, prebiotics, you get kimchi, kombucha, kefir, or
sauerkraut.
kefir. How do you say it? Kefir?
I say kefir.
I'm going to say kefir. I don't know what the right thing is.
Yeah.
But, these types of sources of good bacteria, then you have a really good microbiome and then things go well.
Right.
But I feel like all of these things are just emerging out of the woodworks on these different articles that I'm reading.
Yeah.
And these different scientific communities and different research agencies for these universities are starting to slowly connect these dots, being like, microbiome's important, probiotics are important, these long shelf life products are hurting those things, seed oils are bad for you.
I mean, isn't that like the people that have Crohn's disease, which is really, really bad?
Isn't that like a genetic disorder?
Yeah, it's I think, I don't know how it works, but basically all the foods harm you.
Wow.
And it's because you have I don't know if it's because, but there's something to do with an imbalance on your gut. So one of the, I make bone broth because bone broth is supposed to be not only rich in collagen, but it's supposed to help your gut.
So here it is. You're right. Crohn's disease is a type of inflammatory bowel disease.
Yep.
It is caused by swelling of tissue in your digestive tract. No way. You're right.
It's really bad. I met someone with Crohn's disease.
Really?
They went vegan because they
just out of necessity. They had to.
They would be in the hospittal almost every month.
Oh my gosh.
And avoiding all the things that are like, oh, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. So you can eat 5 things.
Yeah.
And those 5 things start affecting you. But one of the women that I saw who cooks bone broth, and I was trying to find the perfect recipe, she said like, yeah, my doctor just put me on this diet that I have to drink 6 cups of bone broth every day.
Wow.
Because of her Crohn's disease.
It's amazing that a doctor is prescribing bone broth.
Yeah.
And
who knows? It might be a holistic doctor, because usually the doctors that actually prescribe that kind of thing are the doctors that are willing to be like, okay,
right,
medicating you is not really gonna cure you. We need to find a way to balance your body again.
It's amazing that that's becoming more of a thing. Like, it's always been a thing. It's always been a thing where you have the crunchy granola moms who've always been doing that. They had the echinacea when you were a kid and they put it into your milk and stuff. And, now we're finding out, oh, echinacea, it's actually a good probiotic. But like back in the day, people got made fun of for that. Right. And then you have, trust the science and these doctors. But then you're like, we've had 50 years of overprescribing opioids and all these antibiotics. Right. And we're like, okay, that wasn't good. And then you try to reel back and it's like, you're constantly, I view science and society and the medical industry as this clown car that's going down. It's just barreling down the street and there's two guardrails. And it's like you hit one guardrail and you're like, okay, we tried that. Now you bounce and you go the other way. You do the opposite and you overcorrect and you hit the other guardrail and you're just bouncing back and forth.
Right.
But you're going down and you're still making progress.
Right.
But you're sustaining so much damage to your car.
Right.
And I'm like, that's science and that's like society. It's like we're doing all these crazy things and we're like, okay, that's bad. That's not good. Right. It's like, everyone has a phone now. Yeah. Everyone. It's impossible not to. Like, there's some people who are renegades and they're like, okay, I'm going to have my flip phone and I'm going to disconnect, Very rare. And then you have all these kids that are glued to their iPads and their cell phones, and then they're looking at all these crazy beauty standards, and we have astronomically high rates of depression and anxiety and suicide, and this is the clown car heading in that direction. We're hitting the guardrail right now as a society, and we're going to bounce off, and we're going to have concerned parents being like, I don't like this. All our kids are sick and upset and sad, and they need counseling, and this wasn't the way I was when I grew up.
Right.
And then they ricochet and they go on the other side.
Let's live in the woods now. There's so many pages. They're getting bigger and bigger doing like homestead. Right. You just go and you get self-sustainable because you don't trust the food anymore.
That's the thing. It's the clown car ricocheting off. And you're like, why are all these people trying to grow their own food? It's like, well, because they've been seeing how horrible the processed food industry has become.
Yeah.
And it's not a product of evil. It's just a product of the clown car jumping off the different types. I'll keep going back to the clown car. That's how I view life. I just view it as an absolutely derailed clown car.
Right.
And I'm just watching it.
Yeah.
I'm not a crazy conspiracy theorist. I just think people run by incentives.
Yes.
And companies just run by profit. And that's not inherently a bad thing.
No.
But you end up in these crazy places when you have companies that are actually directing politics through their dollars and their investments.
Yeah.
And this happens all the time. We were just talking 50 years ago. The big sugar industry basically started lobbying scientists, and they paid, it wasn't even a lot of money. It was like $50,000 they gave some scientists, and the scientists started to say, okay, sugar isn't bad. It's actually fat that's bad. And then for decades, people thought that fat was the enemy and that it was the devil, and people stopped putting butter on their bread. And we figured out that's actually not true, and sugar's way, way worse.
Yes.
And it was basically just a couple of companies that were very powerful and gave some money to some scientists, and people were like, oh, trust the science. And it's like, well, sometimes you can, but you gotta understand that there's conflicts of interest that happen all the time, and then you end up with this clown car situation.
Yeah.
And that's where we are right now.
Yeah. So we say, it's not, don't trust experts. Like, it's great there are people that dedicate their lives to learn something and research something to make that information available to us, but that's not their only incentive. They need money to research, they need resources, and those resources come from somewhere. So for some people, either bending the rules by saying something that is just dishonest and not true is worth it if they get to keep researching that, or sometimes they're not even being dishonest. They truly believe what they're saying, but they can't prove it. And they might be really, really wrong, but then they influence a whole generation.
Right, they'll believe it.
Yeah.
But they're coming off as if it's gospel truth.
Exactly, because they put the seal of being an expert.
Right.
So don't trust blindly on people that have a degree and thousands of hours on something, because they might not know what they're talking about, or they might have other incentives. They're not on your best interest. You are the only person guaranteed to have your own best interest in mind.
Right.
So, do your own research, read everything there is to read about it, try things, and if it works for you, it works for you. If it feels good, it feels good. But there's other incentives, because people are just people. So there are other incentives that these experts have in mind other than just giving you pure information.
We like to think, this is like a final rant I'll go on, but like, I feel like I suffer from this too, but like we like to think that we kind of have things figured out as a society, and like humans are so quote unquote advanced. So we have the internet now. We have cars and roads and antibiotics and all these things. And it's like I feel like we are barely getting there.
Oh yeah.
We have scratched the surface barely.
Yeah.
I was looking at Planet Earth the other day, and there was this ape that had this stick, and he was using this stick to get these ants out of this tree. And it was one of the first examples that they've seen of animals using tools.
Yeah.
And then what would happen is one monkey started to do it, and then all the other ones started to do it because they would learn it. They would see it, monkey see, monkey do. And now all the apes are using sticks to get the ants out of the tree. If they could talk and they had thought, they would think they were so advanced. They're like, we are awesome. Like, we got the stick thing figured out. Like, we get the ants that we can't reach before. Right. And they would think, like, how awesome are we? Yeah. And, like, that's us with the internet. That's us with antibiotics. We're like, we are the monkey with the stick. Yeah. And we think we're so good. And then there's something, if we could just see what we would be in 10,000 years or even 100 years, we'd look back and be like, we're in the Stone Ages.
I mean, at the end of the day, we were looking up, because so many people related in my circle of relatives and friends have endometriosis. And we were looking it up. And we're like, oh, wow, 1 every 10 women in the U.S. has endometriosis.
That many.
What is it? And they explain like, oh, this tissue that starts growing outside your uterus instead of inside. Why? And they say like, we don't know.
No clue.
Yeah. So it's a problem that affects so many people.
10% of women. The 10% of the...
And nobody knows why. They're just like, it feels wrong. It feels wrong to say that out loud. Oh, yeah, 10% of the people in the whole country have this, and we don't know why.
No clue.
So this is our situation. We should be humble enough to recognize that, yes, we figured a lot of things out, but we, like you said, we just started. There's so many real problems in our lives that we have no idea how to solve.
If there was a meteor that was actually large, like I'm talking large, coming through, and not even like if you look at all the meteors in space floating around, there's asteroid belts, all the asteroids and stuff like that. If you took just an average size one, if it hit the Earth, there's nothing we could do. You could throw a little nuke at it. It would be like a bug on a windshield, and it would just come in and it would destroy everything, and we'd start over from scratch. We are just one asteroid away from just resetting everything. And we forget that. We're like, oh, but we got Twitter and TikTok. And I'm like, exactly. All we have is Twitter and TikTok. That's it. That's the most impressive thing is the internet and some interplanetary space travel to the moon. And that's it. Our closest rock. Like, I was learning about, have you ever looked into the pyramids?
Yeah.
It's such a rabbit hole to go down.
Yes, it is.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Like I know the opposite. I'm the opposite of an expert. And I know so little, but the little bit that I know blows my mind.
It should.
It's millions of stones.
Yeah.
And each of these stones are so many thousands and thousands of pounds. We have no clue how they even move them.
And they're built absolutely perfectly too.
They're so perfectly shaped that you can't fit a razor blade between them. We don't know how they made them.
The thing that is what freaks me out, and that's what humbles me actually, because we think we're so advanced, but we can't think about how people from the past did something.
Yeah.
And we are in the future, and we have all the technology. We can reverse engineer that thing, and we can't figure out how they did it.
There are so many stones that even if you did like 6 a day, it would take like how many thousands of years to do. You know what I mean?
This is the other day I was thinking about this actually. I was just like in the shower thinking about the pyramids for no reason. And I was just like, this makes me more of a believer in, everything that I believe that I can't prove. It actually improves my faith, because the main argument of people who don't believe in God or don't believe in anything supernatural or don't believe in anything that you can't really prove, it's not in front of you. It's that you can't prove it. Like, you have no idea how to explain this.
Right.
But you can't see, so that makes things difficult. But if I think about the pyramids, they are there. And I can also not explain it. But they're there. They exist. And everybody will say, like, yeah, that's a thing. It's right there.
Literally
I can see
right
it.
There.
But I cannot explain how they did it. But it's still real, even though I can't fit, in my mind, and I can't comprehend how they did it. So for me, that humbles me to say, I don't know everything there is to know. And I'm certainly not the biggest thing in the universe.
Right.
You know, I'm not the biggest person. I'm not the biggest being because I can't be. Because there's so many things that I can't explain and they're real.
There will always be more that we can't explain than what we can.
Right.
You know, we might be like, okay, we understand how they cut these things and we found these cave drawings and that described the schematics for this cutting machine or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, but then we dig deeper into the pyramid and we're like, okay, in the king's room, they used these cornerstones that were taken from a quarry 500 miles away.
Right.
And you're like, okay, forget it. Forget it.
Right.
I can't do this. Like, was it aliens? I want to believe it was aliens. But like, you go back to the drawing board. This was thousands of years ago.
Right.
Some people think 5,000 years ago. So imagine they built something so huge that lasted 5,000 years. We have no clue how they did it.
Right.
So much advanced technology to be able to get a stone perfectly cut out of a quarry 500 miles away and then placed inside of this elaborate structure of millions of stones very quickly.
Yeah.
Constructing this this behemoth of an engineering project 5,000 years ago. And then just a couple hundred years ago, we didn't know basic medical science.
Yes.
We didn't have germ theory.
Right.
We didn't wash our hands before we did open heart surgery.
Yeah.
You know, George Washington, the first president, he died because he was bled to death.
Yeah.
By a physician. They thought, oh, you just put leeches on you, you take the bad blood out. That's what they thought. It's like crazy things like people didn't know. This was 300 years ago. And 5,000 years ago, we did the pyramid. So I think there was this huge drop off of information.
Right.
There was so much information.
Yeah.
And then it just poof, went away.
Right.
And then now we're just building things up again. And imagine where we went from George Washington's days and the bleeding people because we didn't understand anything about medical science to where we are today.
Yeah.
That was a couple hundred years.
Yeah.
Imagine what 5,000 years would have been back when they had the pyramids.
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea. All I think about is it makes me very cautious about the things from now, the things that science or
quote unquote science.
How do you say like the brand mark? You know,
oh, it's the science.
Yeah.
Anytime you hear someone say the science,
the science TM,
that should be an immediate red flag.
Yes.
When people say,
Yes,
"Oh,
it
it's
should.
the science," it's like,
it's the
"Oh,
cult.
really? It's okay."
You know, every time that I hear something like the science established that this is, you know, the best thing for you, this is okay or this is not okay, I think like, well, let me just walk on eggshells on this because we don't know. And like you say, we don't know how we're going to look in the future. We don't know how the, you know, people from 1,000 years from now are going to look at us, and if they're going to do something like we're doing right now. It's like, can you believe that those guys, you know, did this, like took ice baths and thought that was healthy?
Yeah, they had no idea.
We don't know what we don't know. And also a lot of things are niche. So it might be that those people that built the pyramids, they knew that thing and nobody else did because we didn't have Twitter and TikTok.
There was no communication between countries.
It's not like we just lost information. It's just that some people in the world figure things out, some specific things, and they just die.
Right.
And that's it. And then unless you record that and you make, you know, a book out of it, or you just tell someone else, it's gonna die. Like all the languages that are dead, and all the people that don't exist anymore, and all these arts that just disappeared, they just die.
It's like, what would have happened? What would we be today as a human race if the Library of Alexandria hadn't burned?
Right.
And all that knowledge lost.
That is one of the things that itch me.
We in 2022, we'd probably be past the whole Twitter phase. We'd be like, guys, this is not a great way to communicate.
If I had a genie, like, you know, on the What We Do in the Shadows.
Oh, yeah.
If I had like the djinn.
You had a genie for all your wishes.
Yeah, my wish was like, just give me, you know, a week inside that library. Just to walk around and open everything that you can. It's like, what is it? Like, how is even here? Like, how did people do things?
So wild.
Yeah.
It's so wild. But I guess the whole point, just to button this topic up a little bit, I think what we're getting at is that I think it's important to remain skeptical. Yes. I don't say be a cynic because I view myself as an optimist, But I say be skeptical with anyone or anything or any institution or any government or anything that tells you how to live your life a specific way. You can be like, okay, I take that information. You might even believe it, but not all the way. And trust but verify. Like if someone's saying, oh, you should probably eat the paleo diet or the keto diet or, you know, you do the carnivore diet and that's the best diet. You know, I think everything in life depends.
Yeah.
And everything in life you should question.
Yes.
And I'm a big proponent of in a safe environment, try everything once type of thing.
Yes, you will.
You know, because eventually you might figure out, okay, the paleo diet didn't work for me and the keto diet gave me gas. And then, you know, but it was actually the carnivore diet that really made me feel good.
Yeah.
You know, and that might work with your microbiome and your biomap and everything about you. And that's unique to you. And you just have to figure that out.
Yes.
And, you know, they'd be like, well, the science is saying that this is actually really bad. You could be like, well, that's nice, but this is how I'm going to live my life.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe the science will catch up one day.
Yeah, just take your life seriously, you know that you are the only person that know you and have your best interest in mind, and other people just don't know who the heck you are.
Well, yeah, good stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you in the next podcast.
See ya.
Bye.